Hi guys, welcome to another unit and specialization video. Today we're going to be talking about ranged units, which I love. I love ranged units. They're generally just useful units. So we're starting with our archer. The archer is a good unit. If you're looking at a unit that deals a lot of damage, archers are not bad. Their firing speed is slow. So when they shoot an arrow, it kind of slowly goes towards a target, which can be bad because sometimes by the time the arrow meets the target's already dead and that's a wasted arrow. But generally, if you have a bunch of archers, they'll be really good against armored units. The other thing about archers and range units in general is they don't have high health. It's not a big deal because range units are meant to deal damage, and hopefully we have those armored units out front to be taking the damage. Something to note with all of your ranged units is that they deal bonus damage to melee units. So if you see a lot of melee units out on the field, you want to drop those archers in there to kill them quickly. Something I also want to talk about with range units is target priorities. Pretty important to know what range units are going to target first. Now with your archer, the target priority distance is 7, which is the same as their firing distance. And with their target priority, they're always going to prioritize armored units and balloon busters. If there are no armored units or balloon busters, they will then attack melee and then ranged units. If none of those things are there, they're going to attack whatever's closest. So specializing your archer, there's actually 2 good specs for archers, and I always tell people to choose one of your 2 favorite first, and then with your dupe archer, you can choose the other spec. The Longshot and the pinning archers are really solid in all game modes. The Longshot specialization gives you an extra range, so it increases your range from 7 to 8. And with the pinning archer, it slows the movement speed of an enemy unit. And what I found out is if you epic a pinning archer and you have a non-epic pinning archer next to it, and they're both shooting the same enemy unit, you will completely halt that enemy's movement, which is super helpful when you have like an armored melee unit coming at you. You can completely stop it from moving and kill it. Let's go into our next unit, and probably one of my favorite units in the game, which is the bomber. Your bomber is a ranged unit with a shorter attack range, but it deals AoE damage, which is super useful against non-armored units. Like when you have that AoE splash damage hurting them, you can kill a bunch of units in one shot. So the attack range of a bomber is 3 and the priority range is 2. Generally, the bomber is going to target whatever is closest. One of the things to note with your bomber is that an epic bomber at any level is still really strong. So even if you have a level 5 bomber and you're not sure what to make epic, an epic level 5 bomber is going to deal a bunch of damage. It's still a really solid unit. The other thing to note is a bomber is a really great unit for farming potions. So if you're trying to farm potions for dungeons and you're not sure how to do that, drop a bomber into the campaign battles and your bomber will farm a bunch of potions for you. Now let's talk about the specializations. My recommendation for specialization on a bomber is almost always a Farsight bomber. The volatile bomber, just don't do it. Farsight specialization is going to increase your range from 3 to 4, and it actually increases your target priority from 2 range to 4 range, so that's not bad. Let's go next into our Musketeer. The nice thing about a Musketeer is its projectile speed is faster, but it does fire a little slower. But the difference is that its shots won't be wasted as much as an archer will. The other thing is your Musketeer is a rare unit, so its buff is essentially boosting the damage of other ranged units around it. Musketeers have an attack range of 7, which is just like the archer, and its priority range is also 7. The difference in a Musketeer is Musketeers are meant to prioritize other range units first, unlike your bomber and your archer, which prioritize attacking armored and balloon busters. Musketeers aren't bad units. I generally would not epic a Musketeer. You don't really need to, and they're really good just for more damage. Let's talk about the specializations for Musketeers. We have two pretty good specializations. Just like the Archer, I recommend getting both for your initial Musketeer and then your dupe. So with your sniping specialization, it increases your attack and priority range by 1. So you go from 7 to 8 range, which is really nice. And then with the Volleymaster Musketeer, your buff range becomes larger, which actually has been really effective in dungeon games and things like that. I actually like the Volleymaster spec as well, and I recommend it. We will be getting more dupes unlocked actually this next week. Unfortunately, I don't think the duelist specialization is really useful because 10% bonus damage is just not enough to be relevant. Let's talk about our Mage, which is a really amazing legendary unit. This unit fires slowly, but it spawns fireballs, which do damage over time in an AoE. For every mage that fires, they all spawn those fireballs, and that all accumulates damage over time, and that can be so useful against heavy armored enemy units. So mages are really great for that. It has an attack range of 6 and a target priority of 4. Let's talk about specializations for the mage. The best specialization is probably going to be the Ember, and what that does is it increases the fire damage per second to 5 for your mage at any level, and it also increases the duration of that spawned fireball to last 10 seconds. So that's pretty nice because that fire sitting there is just dealing free damage to whatever enemies are standing in it or walking through it. Last but not least, let's talk about our artillery. Artillery is like a glorified bomber, essentially a bomber with more attack range. I really like artillery. It sucks that you have a 4-hour cooldown in campaign on them. Its downside is that because it has so much range and it has that AoE, it gives up its bonus damage to melee units. The other thing about artillery is it moves painfully slow, but again, it has 13 range, which is a lot of range. So generally it's reaching the enemy units. What it would be weak to is rogues, because rogues will go for those artillery, and if you have nothing protecting it, the rogues will kill your artillery, which is sad face. The interesting thing about artillery is its target priority range is really slow. So it's really just going to target whatever is closest to it. That's the thing. If something is within range of its target priority, your artillery is dying. It's squishy, but great unit otherwise. In terms of a specialization for your artillery, we don't actually know what the best spec is. We know what the specializations are, but I don't think anyone has a level 20 artillery, and so we have to choose from sludge, shrapnel, and rapid. And your rapid artillery would have a faster fire rate, which generally increased fire rate for our ranged units is solid. So my assumption, which might be wrong, is that your rapid artillery is going to be your best spec. I don't know, but that's my guess. Your shrapnel specialization is going to cause bleed damage over time, and then our sludge specialization is going to slow the enemy's movement. I'm not really sure how useful that is. It leaves like a sludge pile, and if they walk through it, they go slower. But yeah, I don't think that's super useful, especially since the artillery fires so slowly. If you get that artillery to level 20, I would go with rapid, but that's just me. You do what you want, but please don't do sludge. It just looks bad and it feels bad, and I don't ever want to see a level 20 artillery with sludge. I love ranged units. You can almost never go wrong with placing a ranged unit. I hope this video helped you learn more about your ranged units and how they work. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment, and drop a sub. Share the video to all your friends and family. Just kidding. Don't do that. They're probably gonna judge me. But thanks guys for watching, and I hope this helps.